Welcome back to the Big Idea to Bestseller podcast. I'm your host, Jake Kelfer, and we got an Olympic gold medalist, a best-selling author, and an all-around incredible human being today on the show, Staciana Winfield. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me on. Can't wait to share all the good things.
Of course. I want to just jump right off the bat here, okay? You wrote a book and you won an Olympic gold medal. Which one was harder?
Oh, definition of hard.
I just wanted to throw you for a loop on question one. But all jokes aside here, you wrote a book called Stolen Dance. It's all about your search for healing from trauma and grief. What inspired you to write this book, and why did you decide to do it now at this point of your life?
Great question. I think probably biggest inspiration would just be sharing with others and feeling this idea that I do a lot of speaking and connection with people, but my scope is fairly small. You know, it's limited to my community and the region and maybe, the United States here and there. But I was hoping to be able to get my story to a broader audience, and that was kind of the inspiration behind it. Also, I have to say it, Malika Chopra came to our school. I work at a private school in San Juan, and she came and talked about intention, and we had a meditation on it, and I talk about it in the book. But it was one of these things where, as I was going through that practice with her, I wrote down, I want to write this book. But then that was 3 years ago. So basically, I did a panel. This is a long story. I did a panel with a woman named Danielle McDonough, and she had used your company, Big Idea to Bestseller, and she had a book, and she was handing it out. She's a sports psychologist locally, and I said, I need to talk to you. I have a book, but I have no idea how to do it or what to do with it. And she said, well, let's sit down and talk, and we did, and she connected me with you. And to be honest, I think you gave me the push I really needed to do it, to really just sit down and crank it. So I thank you for that.
Yeah. No, thank you for trusting us. I want to dig into that a little bit. You mentioned like 3 years ago, and then you mentioned that you were at the panel. How long were you sitting on this book? And then how long did it take you once you started working with us to actually finish the book and get it launched?
I think I've been sitting on the book for 20 years, but it also needed 20 years of content. So, there was a reason to be still and wait.
Sure.
But realistically, sitting on it for 2.5, 3 years with what I thought at the time was a, obviously incomplete story. And when I spoke to you in April, you gave me the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 month is the last day of, closing ceremonies to Olympics. I think that'd be a great idea, a great time for you to publish and promote your book. And I was like, I'm in. Like, I just needed a coach and a deadline, and it was like full steam ahead. So I appreciate the kick in the pants about it and the belief.
Yeah.
Got it done.
Yeah, no, of course. And you did a great job too. Where were you at? Just so everyone knows, when we had our conversation, okay, and this was at the time of the recording less than 5 months ago-ish. Where were you at in the book process? You mentioned you had kind of been writing something. Where'd you enter working with us? Because I want to show people how the process actually works and how you dominated this process, and how having the right intention and the right deadline was able to motivate you to get the book done in the right timing.
Yeah, thank you. I had 10 short stories, about 33,000 words, which was, I think, the magic number that you had shared with me in the first phone call, that's all you needed. And which was awesome, because I felt like, wow, I'm way ahead of myself.
Yeah.
But then when I actually dove into it and realizing, like, no, I needed some guidance, right? Like your writing coach, that you assigned with me, she was phenomenal to just ask me a couple of guiding questions and say, these are the stories you should include because this is your intention. This is your hope for the book. And it made it so clear for me that I was able to really just, forge ahead. I didn't sleep much, to be honest, but it made it easier to know which stories to pick and what to include and what people would want to read.
Yeah. And that's really impressive. Okay. And I want everyone to listen here, because a lot of people who listen to this show want to write a book, but there's something that's holding them back. And I think there's two big takeaways that I'm inspired by from your journey with us. The first one being is that you came in with a partial manuscript. It wasn't complete, and you ended up adding to it, and then we got it edited, cover design, everything went through the whole process, and you launched it all within a 5-month time frame. So I want like people to hear that, like, right now you could still get a book done before the end of the year at the time we're
Yeah,
recording this, right?
totally.
Like that's kind of crazy, right? But the second thing that I think is really, really awesome that you did was that you tied in something that was so meaningful and such a big part of your life, and also an area that you can leverage marketing opportunities for, aka the Olympics. That was the perfect time for you to launch it. And do you feel that because the Olympics were coming up, it gave you an additional internal motivation outside of us and our team that like triggered you and forced you to really get this thing done?
Yeah, I think as an Olympian and as an athlete, you live in quadrennials, you live in these 4-year, and so I always, especially when summer comes up, I always feel this like need to work out and eat better and all the things. And part of it is that idea of like training, and I looked at this book the same way where I had a timeline, I had an end date, and I was able to have coaching and a team that was so on top of it with me, and that we could kind of strive forward together to get it done in a way that was possible and manageable, obviously with effort, but the idea of like, yeah, like just this is it, let's do it, let's charge,
Yep.
and I knew what I was capable of, but I also needed to have faith in your company and what your company was capable of, which you just told me from the beginning, like, absolutely, we can do this. Well, we'll charge it. And you guys ultimately did. I mean, it was phenomenal to get
Mm.
communication and the feedback and all the things that we needed to actually make it really happen. Because there are so many components to this process,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
until you do it, you don't really understand some of that, But that was what
Yeah.
was overwhelming me from the beginning. That's what had stopped me initially was I don't know. I don't know how to do it.
Right. Right. Was there any for you? Was there any standout moments or aha moments in this process when you were working with us?
One was, like I said, the writing coach and just some of those guiding questions. You had shared with me, this come with me adventure type. You kind of defined what I had described to you initially of what I thought my book could be. And that really helped me to have just those guiding questions to lead me forward. And then working with project manager Mikey, I mean, she just, every time I had a conversation with her, both of us were smiling and laughing and enjoying ourselves. And, as it felt brief per week, it also felt like exactly what we needed to get done and also connect with each other. And
Yep.
I feel like those two are my besties at this point. I just want to call them up and share all my stuff. But part of that was the testament to how passionate they are for
Yeah.
me and what I wanted to bring, and then working with me to do that. And that was so special. I just didn't feel like I was paying for a service, and it really
Yep.
felt like I had this human connection with you guys. And I was grateful
That's
for
awesome.
that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we'll relay that to the team as well. So your book, Stolen Dance. Talk to me a little bit about and tell everybody what's it really all about. What are people going to learn? What are people going to be inspired by? What are people going to get emotional over? Talk to us about what the book is all in.
Yes. So it's selected stories from my life, technically a memoir. Um, it's 5 parts, and the first part is kind of it's all dealing with grief and trauma and how to heal from it. But the first part is kind of character development and things that happened in my childhood that were challenging and difficult and also wonderful, and developing those relationships with my family and friends. Um, the second part basically is swimming and all about the Olympics and that journey for me and what that looked like and challenges I faced, in the Olympics that I think politically as an outsider you might not understand or know. So I think people will be interested to read about that. The third part is grief. It's the love story and the death story of my husband and him passing
Mm.
away, and how hard that was for me. And being able to share that and be genuine in that and very raw and vulnerable, but with the intention that I want people to connect and understand that if they're in that position or looking to be in that position, unfortunately, that there is hope, that I've normalized some of that, and that they can educate themselves and feel a connection not only with my story, but then have confidence to share their
Mm.
story and connect with others. The fifth part was the hardest for me to write. That's basically best practices, what I've found helped me to thrive every day and just kind of enjoy this life that we all live in a way that, it's not toxic positivity. It's more of leaning into, finding joy in the moments and awe and Most of it's based on positive psychology. I try and interweave, science and data and research, and I'm kind of a nerd for that, but
Yeah,
I
I
think
love
that
that stuff
helps.
too.
Yeah, that helps, and it feels like there's backing. It's not just opinion. So I brought that in too. So it's been phenomenal to already get so many amazing responses from people. I can't wait to share all about that, but it's been great. I'm excited for people to read it. It's easy to sell. I'm not a
Yeah.
salesman. It's easy to sell because I'm really
Okay,
proud of it.
that's a really amazing thing that you just said is it's really easy to sell. Okay? And like when you write a great book that you're proud of, it's easy to sell because you believe in it. It's you, it's real. It just is. And now you can actually share that with people. So I love that you said that. What was the part of the book for you? You know, people are going to want to learn about the Olympics. They're going to, I mean, it's a roller coaster, right? And so for you, what part of the book was the part that either made you relive experiences that were the hardest, or what parts of the book excited you the most when you were actually finally writing them out? And maybe it was a positive release, or maybe it was just like reliving something incredible. Like what were those spectrums like for you?
I have a really photographic memory. Like I'm a visual learner, and the stories that there's this idea of like having an imprint in your mind when your senses are heightened, right? And these moments of impact when you have dopamine in your system, and as an athlete that happens a lot. Right? So it was easy for me to remember and share a lot of these stories because I had such a visual picture in my mind of what had happened. um, but the hardest story to write by far was it's actually hard to talk about, but telling my daughter that her dad was going to pass away, and she was 5 at the time. And it was one of the last stories that I wrote. And
Mm,
it wasn't chronological in the book that way, but it just, for me, I didn't want to write it. I was avoiding it. But I knew it needed to be written for every single parent that has to go through that and talk to their child, and that it would hopefully help. And to be honest, that process, I sat in the car, and while my husband was driving, I was writing for 6 hours, and 3 of those hours I was crying, and he just kept encouraging me, like, you can do this. This is, you can write it, get it out,
yeah.
And I'm grateful for that, to have that support. And it was cathartic once it was out, but you feel all of the emotions again. And I don't like sometimes connecting with those emotions, right? I think it's just human nature to stuff it. So it was challenging, but I think at the end, I feel so much joy now that it's out and I've
Yeah.
released it and I can connect with people on it.
Mm, that's powerful. That's very powerful. When it comes to your book process, okay, there's obviously a theme in your life of just overcoming adversity and rising to the occasion, okay? With the Olympics, with writing this book and crushing it in the time frame that you crushed it in. What are some of the things that you do and that you did from your athlete days that allowed you to tap into your athletic mindset and performance optimization for being able to complete this book project?
First, just the consistency, um, knowing that there was an end goal and committing to the daily work, not putting it to the side. I mean, every moment I could find, whether it was on my phone in bed or in the car on my computer, whatever it looked like, I was finding moments in time every single day to continue to slowly work on it. Or quickly work on it, to be honest, but chip away at that big goal, right? So setting those daily goals of work. The second part was just faith in the process, understanding that there were going to be days that were harder to get certain stories out. There were going to be days where I was going to be distracted by other things, but that I had to stick with the goal and give myself a little bit of grace if there was a day where I was struggling. Like, it's okay not to write today, but I need to do something else. I need to help work on
Yep.
the time cover. I need to edit. I need to reread and refocus. And so that really helped me to just have belief in the process, and then really lean on the support. I think as an athlete, you have coaches, you have teammates, you have people all around you that understand your goals because you verbalize them, and they'll support you in that when you're having hard days. And so reaching out to your team and saying, that I'm struggling with this. What does this look like? And the support was there, and the encouragement was there, which was the best part, like, you got this, you're doing great, you're killing it. I was like, yes,
Yep.
I'm killing it. So just those little wins, it just boosts your dopamine, it makes you want to keep going.
Yeah, yeah. So Were you nervous when you were getting ready to release the book? Like what were your emotions? You had launch day set, you're getting close, the days leading up to it. What were your emotions like?
Okay, this story is insane. So when you and I spoke, the very first conversation we had, and you talked about closing ceremonies and how, it would align up with the Olympics. 2 weeks before the Olympics started, the stars aligned, and I basically decided to take my daughter, Kyla, who's 13, to go and watch the Paris Games. And as an Olympian, you have benefits of going. There's the World Olympic Association. They have the Ollie House, like OLY is the acronym for being an Olympian. So they have the Ollie House. So I found myself at the Ollie House with my daughter on the morning of the launch. We went to this cocktail party, and I'm standing in a group of Olympians, and a common friend, he brand new that day, I just met him, but he swam at Cal earlier than I did. And he's talking about his art installations that he has at the games and how amazing the Olympics are basically trying to promote what Olympians are doing after the fact for service in the community, et cetera. It's super cool. So I'm telling him about the book, and I'm so excited to share after he shared with me his accomplishments. And he pulls out his phone and he's like, "What's it called?" I said, "Stolen Dance." And he goes, "Oh, found it. Bye. It's going to be at my house in 2 days." I was like, "What?" like, not only years of dreaming, but then months of work to have that first person without question, not even knowing me, buy it. And it was just like, this is real. Like this actually happened, and that manifestation and then actually it occurring, like I was overwhelmed. I was more overwhelmed than making the stupid Olympic team, like for someone to have belief in what I had created and what I believed in, and that was real. I was so grateful for that support.
That might be one of the craziest like launch locations of all time that we've had. You're launching the book in Paris, do at the closing ceremonies of the Olympics, and everyone receives it. So once this happens, okay, obviously now you're like, holy crap, this is real. This is happening. Like I did it. Like there's probably all types of thoughts going on, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about what's happened, in the days that followed, in the weeks that followed, how was the response? Who supported you? What was it like when you hit number one? Like what did it feel like as you kind of experienced the true launch process?
Yeah. God, that's I don't have words, but I'm gonna try. So every day since I launched, I've had either a text message, a photo, an email, or someone actually came to my work yesterday to acknowledge that they'd read the book. It moved them in some way. It changed them. It gave them hope. It's reconnected me with past relationships. It's reconnected me with people that um, needed to acknowledge how much the book moved them. And every day I'm not only feel honored and grateful, but this sense of awe that, wow, like my intent for this book to reach a community and can make people feel connection is happening. And
Yep.
it's happening daily. And not only are they feeling it for me specifically, but then they're also feeling like they are empowered to connect with others too. And I have two good friends that said, because they were in the book, someone else in their life reached out to them and acknowledged them. And I
Wow.
thought, oh my gosh, like this idea of building community and belonging that I talk about in the book, like it's real, the power of that.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how sometimes like it takes writing the book and then all of a sudden you see all of the things aligning and happening that you talked about in the book, but you didn't notice them until after you had done the hard work of putting the book together and putting it out. Like, isn't that crazy?
Crazy. It's the best.
So you wrote this book, okay? And obviously there's so much heart into this, and we can hear it in your voice and how much passion you have and how much love you have for this process. What for you is the ultimate outcome that besides impact, besides building the community, sense of belonging, besides the healing adventure, these are all massive reasons. But besides these, what are you looking to do now that the book's out? How are you looking to leverage the book for whatever comes next? What does that look like for you?
I would really like to build my speaking business and just connection business with others. So what that looks like in terms of not only swimming and education, because those are my two fields that I've been in for 20 years, but a greater scope, right? I really would like to be able to begin my business speaking internationally, reaching groups of people, whatever that looks like. I'm not exactly sure, but my hope is that it expands to a place where I can be the keynote at large conferences. I can be the keynote at businesses and bring them in
Yeah.
and yeah, I don't know, just share my stories, continue to share stories and connect and give people some ways that they can, live a better life.
Yeah, and let's dig in here because I want to give you a couple ideas right off the cuff here. When you think about this and you think about your book, right? You have a book that is about your personal stories. There's education, there's inspiration, there's best practices, there's the Olympics, there's grief, there's trauma. When you think of speaking and your speaking business, which direction do you see yourself most wanting to go in terms of the topic? The overarching story, the more practical around like this is the Olympian mindset and how we did it, or more of the grief, the trauma, overcoming adversity, right? Because those could hit different audiences at different moments and different stages. So what for you, and you could say all of the above, but is there one that kind of, you want to be your signature audience or demographic?
I think I've done the Olympic speech or, the components of being an Olympian and things like that for 20 years. And I know with this book, I really would love to reach the grief community more, and the just mental health in general and healing and what that looks like. I think we all deal with trauma and loss in different respects, and you don't have
Yep.
to lose your partner to feel that. And so just feeling that connection with so many people already that have shared with me, yeah, I'm grieving. And it'd be for A, B, or C, right? And that all looks
Yep.
different. Um,
Yep.
I'm really excited to jump into that work with people and help
Yeah.
them, and
Yeah.
connect. It's not they're I'm not just helping them, they're also helping me, right? It's a two-way street. And
Yep.
I want that joy and that connection to continue for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. So is it all right with you if I give you a couple suggestions on
Please.
some immediate action items? We know you'll do them, so I'm going to give you a couple action items here. And I'm doing this because one, I obviously want to help you, but two, I want to show people once you have the book and you go through the launch and now you have the asset, it's how you leverage the asset that's going to turn into the thousands, the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands, the millions of dollars on the back end. So is that something you're open to? Just real quick, give you a couple
Yes.
of advice.
Of
Okay.
course.
So here's what you want to do. You now have the greatest marketing asset that you could have ever hoped for. And as you said earlier, it's the asset that you're not even selling, but you're selling, right?
Right.
Because you feel so proud of this book. Well, what you need to do is step number one is like, where are and who are the leaders of all of the grief communities? What are the organizations? What are the charities? What are the conferences? Who are the influencers in that space?
Okay.
You should make a list of 25 to 50 in each one of those.
Right.
Then what you're going to do is you're going to literally send a copy of your book. You're going to call them up. You're going to email them. You're going to get the address. And you're going to send a copy of the book. No strings attached.
Yeah.
Now what you're going to do is you're going to, in that book, this is one of my favorite techniques I've ever done for speaking engagements, is in that book, you not only send an email saying, hey, I just sent you a copy of the book. But what you do is in the book, you send them a handwritten note, which is basically your way of introducing yourself to them.
Right.
That is going to be the trigger that elicits the response. Okay.
Yeah. Of course.
Now, once you've done that, you will now be on their radar. What's cool is you have speaking experience and you have a best-selling book and you have credibility factors. All of those things now make the introduction much more seamless. Make sense so far?
Totally.
Okay, so you do that. Now we got 100 to 200. I mean, you can do this as much as you want, okay? You can use softwares like LinkedIn Sales Navigator. You can search conferences. You can use softwares like Apollo.io for lead generation. There's a bunch of different ways. Facebook groups. You're going to have a bunch of different ways to do this. Then what you're going to do is once you've sent those books out, you're going to develop a relationship, okay? Just communicating with them, checking in. Hey, what do you think of the book? Hey, it's been a few weeks, are you guys looking for speakers for your upcoming conference?
Right.
You just start to sprinkle it in. And then as you build those relationships, you start to plant yourself as the best choice for their keynote. And what will happen as you start to do this is one, you'll start to develop relationships with the right people. Your book and your credibility and your follow-up will take the place of them needing to see you in person before they hire you.
Right.
And that's going to allow you to skip the line, saving yourself potentially 3 to 6 to 9 months for their next conference. And then boom, you're going to be able to start getting gigs. And so if you run the numbers here and you reach out to 500 people, okay, let's say you send 250 books. Let's say you get 50 responses. Let's say 10 of those people decide to end up booking you over the next 6 months. You charge $10,000 for a keynote. That's $100,000 in speaking fees within a year.
Right.
Now, depending on your level of income and where you want to go, that may be really exciting to you, or it may just be scratching the surface of what you want to achieve. Either way, we have to get the first one to get the next one, right?
Totally. Yeah.
And when I say the first one, I mean the first one since the book came out for this particular avenue, not your first gig, because you've done a lot of those. But are you seeing like how you can use this book right off the bat here as like, here's the book is the asset, you sell the speaking, and then all of the people who attend your speeches can become your one-on-one clients on the back end. And that's how you're going to be able to leverage those opportunities.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Is that helpful?
Yeah, totally. I love it.
Okay, great. I wanted to make sure I kind of laid it all out for you because it's all sequential. Your book to speaking, speaking to one-on-one, your book to one-on-one to them knowing who can hire you for speaking. All of your topics are related to the core principles that you talk about in your book and who you are.
Right.
That's the magic sauce is now you've done the hardest work that you could have ever done. Now all we got to do is just get this in front of as many people. And that's where all of this direct outreach and sending the mail, sending a present to people. Everyone loves receiving presents.
My sister already gave me the cards that have hummingbirds on them.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, that's the best.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so as we kind of get ready to wrap up here, I got 2 more questions for you. And number 1 is, for the people that have been sitting on a book for 3 years, 15 years, 20 years, what would you tell them if they've been sitting on a book and they're hesitant for whatever their reason is? What would you tell them about getting their book done or doing the damn thing? Or what would you tell them if they had interest?
I think that a minute past waiting 1 minute longer is 1 more minute of regret, right? Being able to open the energetic shift that I felt from doing this book I wish I would have done it 10 years ago. Probably wouldn't have been as good, but, but honestly, right? I wish I would have done it sooner. And it's been such a cool process to be a part of with your company. And I mean that sincerely. I don't know if I would have enjoyed it the same way using someone else. And I actually have shared that with quite a few people already. I just really, really enjoyed the process with your team. It was phenomenal. Yeah, I would say do it. Don't let it stop you, you know?
Okay, I want to repeat that. You said 1 more minute of waiting is another minute of regret. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Wow. That's the reality. That's the true reality. I love it. Okay, so look, how do we get the book? How do we follow you? How do we hire you to speak? How do we get more information about the greatness that is you?
Thank you. So the book is on Amazon, paperback, real copy, and ebook. Both are available, so you can get it there. All international Amazons. It'll just click on Amazon and it'll come up. In order to get a hold of me, I have a website, bigwinenergy.org. So bigwinenergy.org. It'll be in the notes. But basically, that's a perfect way to get a hold of me. You can contact me via email and start a connection that way, and I'll be able to get back to you as soon as possible. And then Instagram, my handle is my first name, Staciana, and then the first letter of my last name, which is W. So Staciana W is my handle, and that is open to the public and ready to share. And just love, I do a ton of inspirational stuff on there and share quite a bit. So yeah, please follow me.
Amazing. Amazing. No, this is great. We'll get all that in the show notes so everyone can go ahead and grab a copy of your book, Stolen Dance. They can follow you on the socials. They can visit your website and, hopefully bring you out to speak to their organizations, to their conferences, to their groups and everything. And so I just want to say thank you to you for trusting our team, for trusting me when we first chatted, and for trusting our team. And it means the world to us that you had the greatest experience. And I'm very proud of you for getting your book done in the time frame that you declared and you made it happen. And so I just want to thank you for coming on the show and telling us a little bit more about your adventure, your story, your book, and what we can expect from you in the future.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Jake.
Of course. And so this was an incredible episode. And I want you all listening to this to not only buy her book, Stolen Dance, but what I want you to do is, and here's my challenge really, is my challenge to you is, what's the thing that you've been waiting on? Right? Let's go back to that waiting and regret. What's the thing that you're waiting on that you know you need to do, that you feel compelled to do, that you've tried but you never completed? What's the thing you've been waiting on? And I want you to commit to the one daily action, just like she said in today's interview. What's the one daily action that you could commit to get that closer from waiting to reality, from regret to reality? And that is my challenge to you. So thank you all for listening, and have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on the next one.